Hey folks, how you doing? It's Spence and welcome to another Prosperous Musician where we talk about music, money and marketing. And today we're talking about marketing. Now, I want to take you right back to the basics of marketing. Now, this is a good thing to learn. You probably know them already. If you don't know them already, it's good to know them. Why is it good to know them? Because if you know the rules, then you can break them. Also, what I'm going to teach you and what I'm going to explain to you very shortly is and always will be the case. It doesn't matter how much technology arrives on the scene. It doesn't matter about that. It doesn't matter because these are principles. They are not necessarily uh, tricks or hacks or the latest sort of shortcut. These are principles that will and have stood the test of time. So if you understand these and you, more importantly, if you apply these to your music, then you will see differences. You will see an increase in attention. You will see an increase in effectiveness. You will see good results. Now, obviously, the results really depend on your input, your creativity, your consistency. But anyway, these are the principles, the evergreen principles, the three M's of marketing, and not just music marketing, but any kind of marketing. So let's start with the first M, which, have a guess what it is. Yes, it's right. It's the market. Now, what does that mean? So the first M means the market, and that means basically a market is just where you go to do what? That's right. It's where you go to sell stuff. That's all it is. That's all marketing is. It's taking what you've got and selling it, putting it in a place where people are looking for things to buy and making your thing attractive enough to them so that they buy it. Obviously, an oversimplification of the whole process, but essentially that's what it is. So, the market. The first step is understand, know your market. Now, how do you do that? Well, you've probably heard of market research. Well, it does what it says on the tin. You're researching your market. Why is that important? Well, it's important, particularly if you're a musician, because now you might hear yourself saying, or other people saying, well, who is your audience? Who are you making the music for? You're like, well, and you might say, well, everyone. I want to be known by everybody. Now, if you think about it, that might happen in the end, but where we're starting from is a different place, isn't it? We're starting the beginning. If you're watching this, then you're probably at the beginning or just getting started in your music career and you're looking for more advice and guidance and support. So hello, welcome. And if it is your first time here, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell because we do new videos weekly. And if you have any comments, if you want to ask questions, or if you want to suggest a topic for another video, put it all in the comments down below. So back to that, back to what I was saying, which was your market. Now, to start off with, it's a really good idea to get clear on who your market is. Now, if you've already got music out online, if you've got it on Facebook or on SoundCloud, on here on YouTube, then that's a great start, because the amazing thing, the most brilliant thing about putting your stuff out online on these platforms is the information that it gives you. Now, the information that it gives you is called the analytics. So when you can go into your analytics on your website or wherever you're selling music, on Bandcamp or here on YouTube, you will find in the back end the analytics, i.e. the people who's listening to your music, how long have they listened to it for, where do they live, all this kind of stuff is pure gold, because once you know these things, then you can start to shape and to maneuver your music in front of those kind of people more. Now, you might think, well, of course, without knowing these analytics, you might think, well, I appeal to this kind of age group and this kind of person. But in actual fact, you might not. When you look at the analytics, you might be surprised. Now, for my own music, I was not really surprised, but I was it was very interesting to see that a lot of my music was white males 45 plus, which, well, just happens to be me, basically. So I'm writing music for me. But there's a lot of popularity in America. And the second biggest one was 25 to 34. So there was a bit of a disparity between 35 to 45. So there was kind of younger people into it and older people, but the kind of mid people went into it. So much. So that was interesting for me. And particularly it was more males than females, which I kind of guessed as well. But again, these things, it does take the guesswork out of it. And you might be surprised. And in fact, if you start to put your music out there, if you start to put money on adverts, for example, and get it to a wider audience, then you might see certain countries are picking up on your music more than others. Now, I did an interview, which I'll put in the somewhere on this video. There'll be a link to this interview. And we're going to pause now because somebody's trying to ring me. And what I've done is the basic schoolboy error. Not turning the phone off when you're doing a live stream. So important, very important to do this. And this is very live. It's very real, very raw. As you can see, here we go. There you go. That's how you turn the phone off. So as I was saying, back to analytics and why knowing who your audience is important. Because I did an interview, you'll see it on here, with an A&R guy, and he was also an artist, and he was saying that his kind of music, which is Pink Floyd, essentially instrumental Pink Floyd stuff, was very big in. Can you guess where? Mexico. Who'd have thought it? Massive in Mexico, and also in China and Japan. I believe that they consume music a lot differently over there. Apparently, so I hear. Maybe it's Japan or maybe it's China. It might be both, but their culture is more that they don't really accept free music. They actually have principles, and they believe that they should pay for music. So things like the Spotify model is very different over there, and things like free music is very different. So people consume music very differently. And also in Mexico, it has the biggest, on the flip side of that, Mexico is the biggest, apparently, biggest consumer of streamed music. There's so much streaming going on over there. For whatever reason, we don't know. But so little things like this, little kinds of bits of information can help you find your audience. And why is that important? Because otherwise you're shouting into the void, aren't you? You create music, putting it in front of everybody, and not everybody is going to like it. So the more you can find your audience, the more you can niche down and find the age groups. And maybe it's just women that are more into music than men, or anyway, all this you can find out, and then start to position yourself in a better way. And actually, that might influence the way your branding is, and we'll come to that in a moment. And the way you look it could influence your songs as well. So let's look at a great example of this. Let's look at Adele, right? You've all heard of Adele. But she didn't start out a massive global superstar, did she? She started out very much a very different kind of style. She was kind of more of a singer-songwriter with a guitar, that kind of stuff. It was only after a while of her being around that she started to see who was relating to her music. Now it was kind of people like her, I guess, someone like you. There you go. And she started to find out and started to write for that audience. So now she was writing those and performing. She's kind of known really for those kind of heartbreak ballad songs, aren't they? They're like the heartbreak. They've had a breakup, can't believe it's happened, still grieving, still can't get over you, that kind of thing. And that's a very specific market. That's kind of maybe sort of early to middle-aged ladies who have gone through a breakup, who've gone through a separation, and they're really emotionally feeling that kind of song. Somebody's coming down. So she then positioned herself very much towards that market and sang for that market. She didn't start going into disco. She didn't start going into funk. She didn't start going into sort of whatever genre. She didn't go into rock. She wasn't sort of all over the place. She was very much, her look and the music was very much aimed at that. Now that's just based on information as you go along. So it could be the same for, you know, any other big artist that you look at. They start off, I mean, like Kings of Leon is another great example. They started off like dirty sort of garage rock, you know, and that kind of worked for them. That got them noticed. But then they kind of transformed almost like overnight into U2. They had this massive sort of big guitar sound and did kind of stadium kind of anthemic songs, whereas before they were very kind of lo-fi garage rock, sort of dirt in the fingernails, that kind of stuff. And they transformed into this kind of clean cut, as I said, kind of U2 kind of act. And why is that? You don't know what has gone on in that meeting, that record label saying, right, this is the market we're going at. These are the people who are into you. This is what they like. And this is why Spotify is so good for this, because it'll suggest an artist and then suggest many other artists that are a bit like that artist that you're listening to. And then, so it's not suggesting, oh, here's a song you like. You probably like everything else that's ever been recorded. No, it tells you you've kind of niche that you're into, and that's how it goes. That's how things are marketed. That's why it's important to know who your target market is. So think about that. You might want to stop this video and write it down. Just get a little, just get a paper and pen, just scribble some ideas down. Who's your market? How can you find out who your market is? Do some research. Who's turning up at your gigs? Who's buying your stuff online? Who, when you're at gigs, what kind of people are commenting on what you're doing? Who do you sound like? Now, that's a great way to position yourself as well. That's also good to put into your bio. It's also good to put into your description of your music. You know, if you can do like a little short description, that's a great way, because that's really difficult, isn't it? Have you had this conversation where somebody says, oh, you're a musician, so what kind of stuff do you do? And then you're going, well, you know, it's a bit folky, kind of country, it's a bit like this and a bit like that, and you know, so it's, well, you know, that song blah blah blah, well, it's a bit like that. They've switched off, they've gone. But if you said it's Elliott Smith and Metallica meets the Pogues, then you're like, whoa, then you've got an idea of what it kind of sounds like without throwing loads of different influences in there. You really think about that. So a good way of doing this is doing your own market research. Now, try and do this with not just friends and family, because they might tell you exactly what you want to hear, or they might just say, oh, it's great, or, you know, they might not be very honest with you. So maybe people who you don't really know, send it to them, send your music to them if they haven't already heard it, or people who have already declared themselves as a fan of yours. Just ask them, just say, look, I'm trying to get clear on what I sound like, on my genre. What do you, when you listen to me, what three bands do you hear? What three acts do you think I sound like? Collate that information, because there will be overlap. If you ask 10, 20 people, if you have, you know, a decent number of people, not just 2 or 3, but 10 or 20, 20 is good, 40 is even better. Ask as many people as you can, up to 40 in number, not just age, and different ages, different backgrounds, and see what they come back with. And you'll be surprised at the overlap, and might be surprised at how people hear you, because you might think, oh, I'm this kind of artist and I sound like that, but people hear you and see you very differently. So it's good to get out your own way and to get some actual feedback from your target market. Now, so that's the first one, know your market. The second one is, which we alluded to earlier, which is more about sort of branding, and it's the message, and it's about your message. What are you saying? What are you trying to say? What are you about? Now, this will change, no doubt. As we talked about with the Adele example, you might start off like a singer-songwriter talking about your hometown, or talking about little things that happened to you in the past. But then you start to hit on a trend. You might start to feel that people are responding more to your upbeat, sort of happy songs rather than your downbeat, melancholy songs. And so you start going in that direction. A bit like, I don't know, someone like Bruno Mars, who's known for his kind of upbeat, soulful, happy funk. You know, he doesn't really do the introverted, introspective kind of music, although he might have done to start with. So again, it's first of all, so you know your market, but then how do you create that message? So how do you say what you want to say? Now, you might be very obvious. You might be a political artist. You might be a very political singer, songwriter, a bit like Dylan in the early days. Could be like Billy Bragg or Damien Dempsey or someone like that who sings about real things. And that could be your thing. That could be your message, that you're political, that you're trying to change the world, that you're trying to, have a political message. Your message could be that you're, again, like someone like Bruno Mars, that you're the party guy. You know, every track you do is upbeat. It's for dancing. It's for romancing. It's got that kind of soulful, kind of fun, playful, light, kind of funky energy to it. Your message, it could be, and of course you're going to be dressing that way as well. So someone like Adele, who wears like black and very classic looking, you know, her look suits her music. She's not going to come out singing sad songs in a bikini and doing dance moves. It's just not going to work. So it's got to be congruent with what you're doing. So how do you convey in your message about what you do? So again, so you can see how the two are linked. Your market very much defines your message. And again, that's okay if you don't know. Ask people, it's fine. Just say to them, I don't know, maybe looking at what do you hear when you hear my music? Is there a message in it? Is there a theme in it? And what about my look? How do you look? Are you just like me? You just wear like a black t-shirt and jeans? Are you just that basic kind of look? You just kind of, blue collar, Bruce Springsteen kind of look, where you're just like the average man on the street kind of look? Or are you going for something more, art rocky, or, going something more way out there with the Lady Gaga kind of stuff? So that's your message, how you present yourself. That's your branding. That's your color, the way not your skin color, but your clothing color, your branding color, your logo color. You could have a color theme. Coldplay went through a phase when they using lots of like bright and fluorescent colors and pastel colors and lots of splashes of colors. And it could be, there's lots of examples like that. So think about your message. And now finally, and so you've got your market. Who are you? Who's your audience? You've got your message. What are you saying? What are you about? What style are you projecting? What are you looking like? What do people think about when they see you? What's your kind of image, if you like? And then there's the third M, which is the medium or media. So social media, obviously, what we're talking about now, how I'm talking to you is through the media. This is the media. That's the thing that carries the message to the market. That's what the media is. So again, different mediums have different effects and work for different things. So for example, if you are, as the video you'll see in a bit, linked to this page, the A&R guy who was talking about his market was very much Pink Floyd fans who like that stuff, and they consume that. They might be more into vinyl, so vinyl might be the way that they Spotify first, but then they might want to buy vinyl because they're audiophiles and they want to really hear the warmth and the audible quality from vinyl. Also, it could be that, particularly if you're doing dance routines and short kind of funky tracks, or like trap, or any of that kind of more modern kind of sounding music, works well on TikTok. So TikTok could be your medium if that's the way you want to present yourself, carry your message to your market. Now, if your market's a younger market, if you've identified that, for example, a lot of your market is 13, 14-year-old girls who like to dance, there you go. You know that TikTok is going to be the place for you, because that's where that predominantly that market sort of goes. It's widening out now, where people go on it all the time for lots of different age groups right now. But the dance culture, dancing to little snippets of songs, is still very strong on TikTok. So that would be a place, if you were doing that kind of music that lends itself to that, and maybe you were into dancing and you want to create moves and stuff. Perfect. Go on TikTok. Now, if you were, something a bit more, if you were different to that, if you were more the other way, so it could be that you're lending yourself more to, if you're a producer, if you're kind of a rapper, kind of more of the lo-fi urban kind of stuff. Now, SoundCloud is probably better for you there. That kind of music's more kind of experimental, electronic kind of stuff, and producer-led kind of stuff is more popular on SoundCloud. Things like Bandcamp, now that tends to be more, not strictly, but it tends to be more sort of your lo-fi, left field, kind of indie, kind of guitar-based kind of stuff. Seems to do well on Bandcamp, and not just that, obviously, but so pick your medium, and it might be that it just fits all of them, which is great as well. But pick one. I would suggest picking one and getting good at that. So if it's if it's Facebook, for example, or you create videos on YouTube, or you're doing stuff on TikTok or Twitter or Snapchat or whatever it is, SoundCloud, make sure you're doing that well first, getting a good audience on that. So, of course, Instagram, which is another one, which is a good one for music, with the reels and stuff like that. So find out what works for you, or actually which is the one that you prefer or you understand, because each one's got their own culture and their own language and their own way of presenting information. Even as basic as, YouTube, your landscape, TikTok, your portrait, right? So that's a big difference. So it really matters in the way you frame your sort of content. So there's the three things to think about. And all I wanted to say was the mistakes that people make, that most people make, who don't understand this. Now, you understand this. This is the basics of marketing. The very essence, the very kind of nub of marketing is just these three things, which is market, message, and you got it, the medium. Now, the mistake I see people making all the time is getting obsessed about the medium, putting the third step and final step first. So people talking about Facebook ads, and maybe they haven't put anything out yet, but it's like, should I try Facebook ads? Should I put money on it? And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But people thinking that spending money on advertising is going to somehow suddenly elevate your music that hasn't got a clear market or message to the masses and suddenly get noticed is wrong. It's not going to happen. Or if it does, you won't be able to recreate that, because it will probably be a fluke. So the artists that you see blowing up, the artists that you see getting success, are the artists that have either knowingly or unknowingly thought about their message. They've thought about their market first of all, and who they're targeting. They've thought about the message, what they're saying, what they look like, who are they appealing to, and then they've gone, okay, let's choose the channel to do this on. And if you've got the first two really clear, then the medium doesn't matter as much. Of course, it's going to help if you find the right channel for your thing. It's going to help, but it doesn't matter as much as the first two. Okay, so in other words of saying, using the right medium and putting money into marketing isn't going to help you if you haven't got really clear on who your market is and what you're actually saying. Full stop. That's it. So I want to hear your experiences with this. I want to hear, I want you to write down in the comments down below, what is your market? What is your message? What are you saying? And what medium are you using? Let's get those down there. Just say it out, write it out. I want to see, I want to know these things. And let me know what's working for you. If you want some advice, guidance, hit me up on the comments. Happy to talk about this all day, about marketing, which is basically once you've got the content, once you've got your music right. Now that's up to you. You know, I'm not talking about how to, in this video anyway, we're not talking about how to be a better artist, how to be a better performer, how to be a better songwriter, producer, how to be a better mover, how to be more engaging on camera. I'm not talking about any of that. That's a given. Let's just say all that is in place. It's all on point. You've got it all going on. We're talking about now taking all that to market and making it, creating an audience, building an audience, creating fans, attracting fans, and ultimately making money out of it, which is what you want to be doing, right? But we will be doing videos on the performance side of things, on the artistic creative side of things. But for this time, this is purely about the marketing. And I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And please, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, and I shall see you on the next one. Take care. Stay safe.